Welcome, this is TobyTCG and I want to talk about my last qualifier fun deck at the Gamescom before the Nationals at Germany starts last week. Yeah, you know it's the Jordan deck which wins 2 Crystal Cups in a row, and I want to talk about this deck. I wasn't sure how consistently this deck was with this strategy, but I found that I played in the last qualifier with 4-0 and 28 to 1 points. So I was a bit of a surprise about this deck and want to take some tricks and advice about this deck. It's also very cheap because the only expensive card here is Genesis, the only legendary card. You know, the other cards are also mostly commons or rares, or maybe some hero cards, but which are not very expensive. So easy to build, not much money to spend. Seems very good for some players who want to play a bit more budget. Also thought. Um, so yeah, I want to talk about this deck. Played 4-0 and 28 to 1 points. Only get 1 point for my last enemy, who played the same deck, which was also a very good friend I met. And this deck has a very good win chance and a very straightened strategy. So you also see there are very much 2 drops and 3 drops, which are mostly the core of that. The strategy of the deck is also to start the game and discard your enemy as fast as you can. So your opponent needs the time to build their backups to mostly play their control decks, where you found mostly too much decks about that. Also found out that in Germany uh, there are played a lot of control decks and not much aggro decks or some tempo advice. Um, so I thought just before the national start there was a little tournament about this qualifier fun deck, and I thought, okay, let's try this deck out, and yeah, and I want to show with this video some tricks, some advice, what you should to know, and what your start hand should be, and yeah. So the main reason is here that you start the game with 6 cards, so it's easy that you maybe get mostly of the 2 drops, and with the 2 drops, yeah, you know it, you need 1 card to discard your to generate 2 CP and just play your 2 CP card. So you discard mostly your entire hand at the start hand, and yeah. Um, The thing is also that you must know which your start hand should be, so because you want to discard your enemy as fast as possible you can, so you discard with the mostly 2 CP drops. So there are a lot of cards that you need to play here in your start hand. You know you get 5 cards in your hand, and I can tell you which cards are very good for your start hand and what you should play. So you want to discard at mostly your first turn. So you know that Argrath is also a very good card, just to discard 1 card at the starting turn. Also the Thaumaturge, also very good to discard. Um, yeah, that are mostly the 2 forwards that you want to play here. Also the Squall is a very good start card to play it. Other drops which are very good here are Gasper. Gesper is also a very good key card in your deck because you can play Gesper at maybe at your first turn with your first card or your second card, and if you play your entire hand you can respond with your Gesper. Also, if you play your Deep Ground Soldier, which is sometimes a very good alternative card, you can respond with your Gesper before you search for your 3 CP Soldier. Also, some other very good cards here are Kazuza, which is or which should be in your first turn your last card, so you don't need to discard your hand card, but your enemy should to discard. And you can also respond your Gasper. Also, Harley's just an okay card for your start. So your best starting hand is probably Gasper, Kazuza plus one of these discard cards, mostly Argav or Thaumaturge. So Argav, Thaumaturge, and the other two cards should be Gasper and Kazuza, so that would be your best starting hand. And yeah, you try to build your pressure on your enemy, because if you get your ultimate combo at your first turn, you can discard 3 cards from your opponent, so your enemy starts with just 4 cards in his hand. Yeah, that's not much. So he starts with 4 cards in his hand, so he has mostly play a 4-drop or just 2 backups, so that's not much cards. And you can play in your second turn also with your Gasper, your Kazuza, but mostly you don't need your Kazuza, but you can also respond with your Gasper. Also a very good key in this deck is that you just top deck your deck, and you mostly get a 2-drop or 3-drop. 3 drops helps you mostly out. If you get 1 backup, it's very good for your Kazusa and Harley. If you can just, if you top deck your 2 cards, you can discard 1 and play your 3-drop. You can respond then with your Gasper, searching your other cards, and yeah, you don't discard any cards, but your enemy has to discard cards with Gasper and Kazuza and so on. So also you try to pressure up on your enemy with attacking with the little forwards, just like Argav, Deep Ground Soldier and so on. If your enemy played maybe a 4-drop, just as Guy or something, you can also combo attack. It's very, very good. Also with the bonus, if your enemy hasn't much cards in his hand, your score gets buffed up, your Thaumaturge gets buffed up. It's also good, again, with Snow, to get through some enemy forwards, to get just all in. It's very aggressive. Also Genesis at later point is very good, and if you play just 1 backup, just your Kazusa at your starting turn, which can be very good. You can also play your Sid Austin if you keep some more hands in your hand. If you get more board control and more board presence. Yeah, some combat tricks are also here, which are Matheus, which is also very good with your just 1 backup if you play it in your first turns. It's very good to tricks, to play some mind games, very good. And your Shiva is also good for some win conditions if your enemy gets a bit board presence and keeps alive, and you can just play your Shiva with your, just discard your other hand and play Shiva, the other 2 forwards, and just go through all in. Also Laguna is here a very good card here, just to dull something else. Genesis, dull freeze, set lower the tempo of your enemy. Austin, very good card to remove something big. Also very good for maybe Camlan out if your enemy get it to play him. Yeah, Zidane, also very good advice to just discard your enemy a card or just draw a card, so you can play your Zidane. you respond with Gasper, and after that you draw a card, so you hasn't to discard a card. Um, Also, yeah, you see it that are very much of the deep ground soldiers. You see the 2-drop soldier, the 3-drop soldier with 3 times in your deck, and also the 4-drop with 2 times. The thing about is that you search for your soldiers, you get a lower deck, you get less cards, but, and that is the positive argument about this deck, because this deck is about top decking, you draw the right cards, so it's a higher chance to drop your better cards and higher cards, and you get also some more cards in your hand to play the big drops, maybe the big 4 or the big 5s, so also very good for some combat tricks more. Um, yeah, the Harley Edward is just okay, something at the beginning, just to play Harley and Edward. Um, Also very good about with the special. Didn't get it through because my enemy hasn't some cards at most of the time. So it's also good with the cost breakdown. It's average about 2.4 CP, so it's very very fast because you can also search for many cards here. And the discard count is also 2 CP worth, so you play mostly the cards for nothing. And yeah, another positive argument here, very good combos here, the Snow Shiva combo, so you can dull and freeze. It's also the very good effect, the very cheap effect to Genesis. You play it for 4 and dull freeze something, but you can also do this with Snow. Very good advice here. So Snow is just a 1 CP guy, but if you play Shiva, you can freeze. Also, you get slow down your enemy more and more, and you play more pressure on that. The Flan is also okay, very good 1-drop. You can play it just with your mostly 1 backup on your field, and yeah, if you're fast enough or played more backups, you can also search. Very good if you get 2 backups on your field, so you can play for 1 CP your Flan, and for your second CP you can search for it. So this is a very good tempo deck. It's just a very good fun deck. So I just tried it out and found that uh, this has a very good win ratio. So I have to say this deck has a very good consistent strategy here. Also the score is very good if your enemy has some cards or has to pay some combat tricks, so your score is in most times 8k with haste first strike, so a very good aggro card. So that's it. Yeah, that's it about the deck. Thanks for watching, and also about the deck, your cards are mostly 3 times in your deck, so you can count your break zone, can count your damage zone, so you can math that, and that's also a very good plus point for this deck, so easy to count here. Yeah, that's it, and thanks for watching, so see you next time.